And we're also going to bring on,
You.
um, hi, Mr. Wellington Barlow. How are you?
Blessed in yourself.
I am blessed, sir, as well. Thank you for joining us. I know that you also have an appointment that you need to go and attend. So I wanted just to take a couple of minutes. It's 5:02. We have a lot to discuss, but we're just going to take a couple of minutes. I wanted to congratulate publicly. I'm very proud of the fact that Julian Holt got on board, the second in the state, to implement a system that you've devised in order to counter the racial disparity in sentencing. Very important. There's still some stragglers, people, public defenders that it amazes me. It's shocking that there's some resistance to this when there's nothing else that's comparable. You're the only game in town. Yes.
That's true, but anytime you're dealing with something that's new and it's revolutionary and it's nobody's ever seen it, people are kind of slow to adopt it. So I'm being as patient as I possibly can. I really understand it from both sides.
Okay. So Julie, congrats. Thank you for implementing this. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be spared of receiving an unequal, disparate sentence. You want to touch upon what the system has done, has been a game changer in your office? Can you just want to briefly
Sure,
touch that?
absolutely. And first of all, Al, good to see you also. And I want to thank you, obviously, not only for introducing me to the ESAS system, but more importantly, you have continuously improved the system for us. You continuously reach out to me and tell me when we need to be doing a little bit better job, obviously, of using the system. And, more importantly, you do understand how change is sometimes hard. But Haiti, this is a tremendous tool, another tool in our toolbox that allows us to negotiate with the state attorney's office whenever there are plea negotiations going on. But we've even used it for sentencing purposes, and we've even used it with judges to say, Judge, let us tell you a little bit about the kinds of sentences that other judges have given similarly situated people right here in our own jurisdiction. So, which is to me where you really want to compare yourself quite often, your jurisdiction, to make sure that you, just because you're a defendant in one courtroom versus another, doesn't mean that you have these huge disparities. A lot of times you're seeing why disparities exist across the state because, for instance, in Miami-Dade County, drug cases there are just not as significant in terms of how they're resolved as they are here in Hillsborough County. Here in Hillsborough County, we have law enforcement as well as the state attorney's office that believes that we need to actually prosecute those types of cases. So there's reasons for disparities, but you're able to figure that out. There is no other program that does what Al's program does. To me, it's very affordable, and I am able to at least as far as I'm concerned, Al and I had this conversation recently. We think that this is something that the state of Florida, that the legislature will probably have a good interest in and will understand why it's something that's worth its value. And I've talked to Al. If anyone talks about the state taking this over in some way for us, I think Al's the right person to be doing this. He's got a good vested interest in it. The data is current. And as you have seen, we've had some problems putting up our data transparency system in the state of Florida. Al's able to give you something right now today that can make a difference. Our state attorney is now interested in the program, right, Al?
Yes, correct. They're considering it right now.
And I think that's important because I think their ability to also use it in framing their offers would be very beneficial, as opposed to the line lawyer in the courtroom talking to the line lawyer and then having to run it up. Instead, as the prosecutor here in Hillsborough County, he will be able to formulate what are really fair and equitable types of offers that can be made. So I see this as a very positive theme. It's obvious that he has taken interest in it, and he appreciated Al's comments that he heard himself personally. So I'm excited about this.
John, the other day when we were interviewing you, you mentioned it, how impressed you were with this.
I did. I watched Mr. Barlow's interview with you, Haiti, and just as the lawyer part of it, without even thinking about if I'm lucky enough to get elected, I was just trying to figure out how that gets before a judge. And obviously this is something that a public defender would want to use but how do you get the prosecutors buy-in? And my mind's racing. Is it a Daubert question? I mean, is this, so Mr. Barlow, it was just fascinating. And Haiti, it's funny, the song that Haiti was playing as we were checking in was called Never Stop Learning, right?
Right.
And here's a whole new thing with ESAS. And, I'm 54 years old, and this is a whole brand new world, so, never stop learning. But it was just fascinating, to have this system. Are there prosecutors who challenge it or who have problems with the input, the data, how it's run? I mean, how do you get it before a judge?
That's an excellent question. Let me answer it for you. There are two means by which we officially train lawyers to get it before judges. Number one is a request for judicial notice. Every case that what we do is we run the data and then have the lawyers to pick the cases that they want to use and attach them as exhibits to their request for judicial notice. And so that judge has the capability of taking that case number and actually going into the computer to see that if that case is accurate. And it is, because it comes from the clerk's office, goes to DOC. We get a dump once a year from DOC. So everything that DOC gets comes right from the clerk's office. The second means by which you can introduce it is, let's say you have a contested sentencing hearing after a lost trial, for instance, you have some mitigation for your client. You can file a sentencing memorandum with your mitigation and a request for the court to take judicial notice of those cases. And one of the best means by which to put it before a judge is the mitigation statute is not all inclusive. Anything, a judge can consider anything as long as it's articulable and can be written down. So what I've been trying to do for 2 years is to get them to adopt, I think the next one is N, whereby a judge can legally by law consider other sentences that have been handed down in that jurisdiction or in other jurisdictions, other circuits or whatever, that are similarly situated in terms of the case, but the results are divergent. And so what I'm really saying is there are many opportunities to get it before a judge, but judges like to see a request for judicial notice with the attachments, and with your motion or your sentencing memorandum, you can attach it as an exhibit. Some lawyers will take a whole spreadsheet and attach it because they see a pattern of disparate sentences and they want the court to see how divergent all of these sentences are. For instance, I just ran some data for a guy yesterday on a lewd case. It was 56 points. We saw somebody getting sentences as low as 2 days in jail up to 10 years in prison. So when a judge sees that, that gives them the comfort level of what to do. And it's really helpful on a lot of fronts. Number one, let's say you have a judge who's never been really involved in criminal cases. They got elected or appointed, but they don't have a criminal background. Well, that judge can take ESAS and see what other seasoned judges have been doing, for 10, 20, 30 years. And so that'll give them a comfort level and protect them, quite frankly, from being overreached by over-aggressive prosecutors, which sometimes we run into. Another virtue of it is, and we don't really tout this one, but it's important. It saves the taxpayers, according to OPAVA's data. It costs about $21,400 a year to care for a prisoner. So for every year that this knocks off, that's $21,400. Well, we have one case where it knocked off 28 years. That was $600,000. On our website, we just picked 5 random cases, not too random, but it shows that we save the taxpayers $1.2 million just with those 5 cases. So it has a possibility of depopulating the prison system, as well as saving taxpayer dollars. That money can be recirculated into, community-based programs and things like that. So there are a lot of positives to it.
And John, one of the things that we have the luxury of is, as a public defender, we handle a tremendous amount of cases every year. So we actually can go back and see why a particular sentence may have been reached, or a particular offer may have been reached in another case, so that you can actually distinguish to the court also when they say, yeah, but I'll bet you that case was very, very different. We're able to say, well, here were the only differences that existed. So, you might have had a reluctant victim, or you might have had something like a witness that was not available for the day of trial, and that's why the offer was made. But we're able to show what the differences are As a private practitioner, sometimes that's a little bit more difficult. But one of the things that we know is that our judges want us to show why things are being requested and why there might be differences in offers that are being made. But I think it's a great system to start you off on exactly what you need to do. Show the judge why you're suggesting a certain sentence and why a failure to do that might show some true disparity. So for us, it's been great. The minute I bought the system, coincidentally, I was at a conference here with judges that we had a CLE type of function. And I told everybody, this is what I intend to do. And this is what I'd like to raise today with you and show you and start getting you thinking about disparity in sentencing. And some really good friends of mine, their eyes popped this big and said, what do you mean you're going to be showing us and comparing sentences? And what do you mean about disparity? You can just see the reaction right away.